Welcome guys, we shall be starting with the topic of amino acid. Now what is the word amino acid says to us? See, we know that carbon have 4 valencies. If I just make a basic structure, we know that the carbon have 4 valencies. If on one of the valency we are having the amino group, that is NH2, one of the valency we are having the amino group, the another valency we are having the acidic group at the same time. We are having the amino group, acidic group at the same time. Amino means NH2, acidic means COH. If we are having at the same time we are having the amino group, acidic group, that is called as amino acid. The third valency is hydrogen and the fourth valency can be anything, so I am writing R. It can be sulfur, it can be alcohol, it can be anything, so I am writing R. So this is a basic structure of amino acid. This is a basic structure of amino acid. Amino group, acidic group at the same time is amino acid. What is the third valence? Is going to be hydrogen. Fourth can be anything, so I am writing R. So what is R? R means it can be any group. It can be any group. It can be hydrogen, it can be carbon, it can be carbon chain, sulfur, it can be anything, so I am writing R. So once we are clear with this basic structure of amino acid, now what we need to understand is few definitions that will make a base for this chapter of amino acid, right? So let's starting with the first definition that we should know is alpha amino acid. Alpha amino acid. So to understand this alpha amino acid, we need to understand that what is the meaning of alpha, right? So to make you understand that, I am taking a just simple example. Let's say this is a carbon chain and having the carboxylic acid as a functional group, right? So if I want to do the carbon numbering, we always start the carbon numbering from the functional group. So here is the functional group. So we'll start with the carbon numbering from here. It's carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, right? This is one of the way of doing carbon numbering. The other way of doing carbon numbering is that the carbon which is next to the functional group, say this is the functional group, the carbon which is next to the functional group is referred as the alpha carbon, then the beta carbon, gamma, delta and so on, right? So what we have understood by this example is that what is alpha carbon is, alpha carbon means the carbon which is next to the functional group, carbon which is next to the functional group. The carbon which is next to the functional group is referred as the alpha carbon. If we apply the same concept of alpha carbon on the amino acid, then what we are going to appreciate is, say this is the carbon having 4 valencies. One valency is having amino group, another valency is having acidic group, the third valency is hydrogen, the fourth is can be anything, so I am writing R. So this is a structure of amino acid. Because here is the main functional group, that is the COH, then the carbon next to the functional group, the carbon which is next to the functional group is going to be the alpha carbon. In this alpha carbon, you can easily appreciate that this amino group is right now attached to the alpha carbon. In this amino acid, the amino group is right now attached to the alpha carbon. So this is referred as alpha amino acid. This is referred as the alpha amino acid. So what is alpha amino acid is that the amino group is attached to the alpha carbon. So let's write down the definition of alpha amino acid, that the amino group is attached to alpha carbon. If the amino group is attached to the alpha carbon, that is referred as the what happens in our body is that the most of the amino acids are found in alpha form. There are some exceptions. There are some amino acid which does not found in the alpha form, and this is what we need to know. So the exceptions to the alpha amino acid means the amino acid which is not found in the alpha form. Exceptions to the alpha amino acid, say they are beta alanine. Beta alanine, the name itself is very clear that the amino group is attached to the beta carbon, that's beta alanine. One more exception that we can add is beta amino isobutyrate. Gamma amino isobutyrate. So the name itself is very clear that we have a prefix that beta alanine, beta amino isobutyrate, gamma amino isobutyrate, that the amino group is not attached to the alpha carbon. So this is the first definition that we need to remember in respect of the amino acid, that is alpha amino acid. Let's understand the second definition, that is with the name of Chiral carbon. Chiral carbon. Now, what is the meaning of Chiral carbon is, if we know that carbon have four valencies, if all the four valencies are having different functional group, for example, here it is X, Y, Z, A. What you can appreciate is all the four valencies are different. If all the four valencies are different, then such carbon is referred as Chiral carbon. This is referred as Chiral carbon. So what is Chiral carbon? Definition is all the four valencies having different functional group, or different atoms. That is referred as Chiral carbon. Now, why this Chiral carbon is important? See, you may have heard that there is something called as mirror image. There is something called as mirror image or the optic isomers. If we want to make a mirror image of any molecule, the mirror image or the optical activity depends whether the molecule contains a Chiral carbon or not. If the molecule does not contain a Chiral carbon, then the mirror image is not possible. So, is only possible if a molecule contains Chiral carbon. If the molecule does not contain Chiral carbon, the mirror image is not possible. So, using this information, if I apply this concept here on this structure of amino acid, here is the amino group, the acidic group. So, this is going to be amino acid. The third valency is hydrogen. Let's say the fourth valency is also hydrogen. So, what you can appreciate is third and fourth valency are same. Because two valencies are same, so I can say it is not a Chiral carbon. Now, once it is not a Chiral carbon, but at the same time it is having the amino group, acidic group, so it is amino acid. The name of this amino acid is glycine. So what they ask is, which amino acid does not contain Chiral carbon? That is a straightforward question. The answer is going to be glycine. Or in other way they can ask this, that which amino acid is optically inactive, means which cannot make the mirror image. The answer is going to be glycine, because it does not contain the Chiral carbon. So let's write down this point, that glycine does not contain Chiral carbon, hence it is optically inactive. Glycine does not contain Chiral carbon, hence it is optically inactive. Does not contain Chiral carbon, so it is optically inactive. This is the second definition. The third definition that we should know is amino acid. So we have discussed about alpha-amino acid, then the Chiral carbon. The third that we are discussing is amino acid. If I make the structure of amino acid, carbon having four valencies. On one of the valency we are having the amino group, the acidic group, the hydrogen, and the fourth valency can be anything. So I am writing R. Now here what you can appreciate is that the amino group is free. Free in the sense that it can make bond with the nearby amino acid. It can make peptide bond with the nearby amino acid. It is currently free. This amino group is free. But what I do is, if I alter the structure of the amino group, means right now this amino group is free, but now what I do is, I bound this amino group in a ring structure like this. Now you can see that I have made a ring around the amino group, right? This amino group is not free. If the amino group is not free, then this molecule is referred as amino acid. So what is amino acid? That the amino group is not free. Instead, it is bound in a ring structure. If the amino group is not free, bound in a ring structure, is referred as amino acid. What is very important is that what is the example of amino acid? The example of amino acid is proline. Proline is the example of amino acid. It does not have the free amino group. Sometimes they might ask that what is the name of this ring? The name of this ring is, this is referred as pyrrolidine ring. So pyrrolidine ring is found in which amino acid? It's found in proline, which is an example of amino acid. So these are the three definitions to be remembered, right? So to summarize what we have discussed, that the first thing that we need to know is the alpha amino acid. In humans, most of the amino acid are found in alpha form. There are few exceptions, and the most important exception that you should know is beta alanine. Now when they will ask this question, they will not write this beta word in the options. The reason is, if they write beta, then it's going to be very obvious, right? So the beta word they will remove. They will just write alanine. Alanine is an example of beta amino acid. The second thing that we have discussed was the chiral carbon. Chiral carbon, or the optical activity. So the point to be remembered is chiral carbon not found in which amino acid? The only amino acid is glycine, which does not have the chiral carbon. It is optically inactive. The third thing that we have discussed was amino acid. The example of amino acid is very important. It's proline. The amino group is not free, is bound in a ring structure. So these are the 3 points to be remembered from this definition part. Now coming to the very important part of the chapter amino acid, and that is in respect of the classification of amino acid. Classification of amino acid. So to do the classification of any group, first we need to understand that how many amino acid we have. Earlier we have 20 types of amino acid. Now recently 2 more amino acid are added, and now we have total 22 types of amino acid. We have 22 types of amino acid, and we need to classify these 22 amino acid. So to classify any group, say for example, if we are having right now 22 students in the classroom, and I want to classify these 22 students. So what I can do is, I need to have a basis on what ground I am going to do the classification. Say for example, I can do the classification on the basis of your age, 21, 22 year, 23 year, 24 year, and so on. I can classify on the basis of your, let's say, the native state, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Telangana, Kerala, and so on. Right? So on the basis of various things, we can classify the groups. So here also we want to classify the amino acids. So first we need to understand that on what ground we are going to do the classification, right? So the first classification that we are going to discuss is based on the R group. Based on R group. What is R group? R group is basically the side chain. If I make the structure of amino acid that we have made earlier, is the amino group, acidic group, hydrogen. The fourth was R. The fourth valency was R. As I told you earlier, that R can be anything. It can be hydrogen, it can be carbon, it can be sulfur, alcohol, it can be anything. So based on that, we are going to do the classification. So the first subcategory, if we do the classification that is based on the R group, the first subcategory comes out to be simple amino acid. Simple amino acid means that the R group is replaced by either a simple hydrogen or by a simple carbon. If you replace the R group with simple hydrogen or carbon, that is called a simple amino acid. The example of simple amino acid are glycine and alanine. Glycine and alanine are the example of simple amino acid. Glycine is being the simplest amino acid among all the 22. The simplest amino acid is glycine. When it comes to alanine, alanine is the most abundant amino acid that is found in the body. Most abundant amino acid that is found in the body is alanine. Right? So these are the two simple amino acids that we have. Coming to the second subcategory, the second subcategory is the branch chain amino acid. Branch chain amino acid means that the R group is replaced by a branch carbon chain. R group is replaced by a branch carbon chain, that is called as branch chain amino acid. The examples are leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Leucine, isoleucine, and valine. They are the branch chain amino acid. How we can remember? We can remember via mnemonic, that is, if you want to have a branch relationship, if someone wants to have a huge branch relationship, the person has to have a specific characteristic, that the person has to be live-hearted. So what I can say is, to have the branch relationship, the person has to be live-hearted. Leucine, isoleucine and valine, LIV. To have branch relationship, the person has to be live-hearted. The third subcategory is the sulfur containing amino acid. Sulfur containing amino acid means that the R group is replaced by sulfur. There is sulfur in that R group. That is called as sulfur containing amino acid. The examples are methionine and cysteine. Methionine and cysteine are the sulfur containing amino acid. So, remember it. Methionine and cysteine, we can remember like this: meaty cyst. Meaty means sweet. What is there inside the meaty cyst? It is the sulfur. What is there inside the meaty cyst? It is sulfur. Meaty cyst. The fourth subcategory, it is the hydroxyl group containing amino acid. Hydroxyl means alcohol. OH. OH means the hydroxyl group or the alcohol group containing amino acid. Alcohol group containing amino acid. Hydroxyl group containing amino acid. The examples are serine, threonine and threonine. These are the examples. How we can remember is, mnemonic is in Hindi, so if you know Hindi, it's very good. If not, fine, you can remember it directly. Hydroxyl group containing amino acids are serine and threonine. The mnemonic is Sir Thero, this is alcohol. Sir Thero, this is alcohol. Sir Thero, Thero means stop. Sir Thero, this is alcohol. That is serine and threonine. These are the two amino acid which contains the hydroxyl group. But there is one more amino acid. Apart from these two, there is one more amino acid which also contains the hydroxyl group. But there is certain characteristic difference between these two and the third one, right? So that is why I have not told that earlier. I told that hydroxyl group containing, you need to remember two, serine and threonine. There is one more, and that is having some different characteristic. Let's first write down the name of that amino acid. The name of that amino acid is tyrosine. Tyrosine also contains the hydroxyl group. Right? But let's write down this full statement. Tyrosine also contains hydroxyl group, but it is water insoluble. Now, what is the meaning of that? See, usually what happens is that the alcohol containing amino acid are water soluble. We can easily understand that alcohol is water soluble, so wherever there is alcohol, that is going to be water soluble. So the alcohol containing amino acid are water soluble usually, and that is serine and threonine. Tyrosine, despite it contains hydroxyl group, but it is not water soluble. That is why we are writing that in a separate line. So the alcohol containing serine, threonine, tyrosine, we are writing in a separate line because it's hydrophobic. It is not water soluble. Coming to the fifth subcategory, that is the acidic amino acid. We can write acid like COOH, or we can write like COO negative, right? The point I want to convey to you is that wherever there is excess amount of acid, it may contain which charge? It will contain which charge? Negative charge, because you write COH or CO negative, same. So wherever there is excess amount of acid, it is going to contain negative charge. So it is these are the negatively charged amino acid. The examples of the acidic amino acid are aspartate and glutamate. The other names of these aspartate and glutamate is aspartic acid and glutamic acid, because when the examiner will try to ask you that which of the following is a acidic amino acid, they will not give you the name aspartic acid or glutamic acid, because name itself is very clear. So they will use the alternate names. Aspartic acid also called as aspartate, glutamic acid also called as glutamate. These are the acidic amino acid. The sixth subcategory is amide group containing amino acid. Amide group containing amino acid. Amide group containing amino acid. So to understand amide group containing amino acid, first we need to understand that what is the meaning of amide group is. What is the meaning of amide group? When I say sulfur content, it is very obvious that it is containing S. When I said hydroxyl group, we know it is OH. When I am saying that is amide group containing, first we need to see what is the amide group is. See, the amide group is CONH2. This is referred as the amide group. So we need to look for the amino acid which contains this amide group. This amide group has a tendency that it loves the acid. Let's understand it here. What I am saying is that the amide group has a tendency that it loves the acid. Wherever there is excess amount of acid, this amide will go and will attach on that. Just prior to this, we were discussing about the acidic amino acid. Acidic amino acid means that they have the excess amount of acid. So we have two amino acids which have excess amount of acid, aspartate and glutamate. And right now I am saying that the amide has a tendency or affinity towards the acidic amino acid. So what is going to happen is that this amide is going to attach on the aspartate, as well as it will go and will attach on the glutamate. So the example, when it comes to the example of amide group containing amino acid, I can see that amide will go and will attach on aspartate. It will make a molecule that is called as aspargine. If amide goes and attaches on glutamate, it will make the molecule that is with the name of glutamine. So we have understood that the amide group containing amino acid, we have the aspargine and glutamine. Then the last subcategory I can say is the seventh one, is the basic amino acid. Basic amino acid. Basic means I can say they have the excess amount of base. When I said the acidic are having which charge? Negative charge. If acid is negatively charged, the opposite base is going to have which charge? Is going to be having the positively charged amino acid. So I can say basic amino acid or positively charged amino acid. Positively charged amino acid. The examples are histidine, lysine and arginine. These are the basic amino acids, histidine, lysine, arginine. How we can remember is with a simple mnemonic. His last urge is very basic. His last urge is very basic. Whenever it comes to last wish, it's going to be very basic only. His last urge is very basic. Among these three, if they ask that which is most basic, which is having the highest pH, the answer is going to be arginine. Arginine is having the highest pH. Or in other words, I can say most basic. In other words, I can say most basic. So these are the seven subcategories of the amino acid based on their R group. Right? Simple, branch chain, sulfur containing, hydroxyl group containing, acid, base and amide. These are the seven categories. The next classification that we are going to discuss is based on water solubility, or I can say whether the amino acid is water soluble or not, right? So we are going to discuss the next classification based on the property of the amino acid, whether it is water soluble or not, right? So let's write down the second type of classification, that is based on water solubility. So based on that, we can divide the 22 amino acid into two categories. One is the water soluble, that is the hydrophilic category, and the hydrophobic category. Hydrophilic and hydrophobic. Hydrophilic, they are also referred as polar amino acid. Polar amino acid or hydrophilic is same. Polar or hydrophilic is same. When it comes to the polar amino acid, how we are going to remember them? See, we are not going to remember the entire list by all the examples of polar amino acid. We will remember by the categories. See how we are going to do that. If I ask you in a simple way that whether the alcohol is water soluble or not, means the whiskey, the vodka, they are water soluble or not? Yes, you will say yes, they are water soluble. So I can say that wherever there is alcohol, it's going to be water soluble, right? So the alcohol containing amino acid, they are going to be water soluble, and we have written serine and threonine. Serine and threonine, cert, hero, this is alcohol, serine, threonine, they are water soluble, right? So alcohol containing amino acid, water soluble. If I ask you acid is water soluble or not? Yes, acid is water soluble because it contains charge. In the same way, basic amino acid, they also contain charge, they are also going to be water soluble. And there is a molecule which loves the acid, that is amide, right? So wherever there is amide means there is acid, and that is going to be water soluble. So I can say that there are 4 categories which are going to be water soluble. One is alcohol, the second is acid, base and amide. These are the water soluble amino acid that we have. So if I write that the polar amino acid, what are the polar amino acid we have? We have the 4 subcategories: alcohol, acid, base and amide. These polar amino acid can further be divided into 2 subcategories. 2 subcategories, that is charged polar amino acid. Charged polar amino acid means having a charge, or uncharged polar. Uncharged polar amino acid. When it comes to the charged polar amino acid, there are 2 examples that you have to add. One is the acidic amino acid, and the second is the basic amino acid. Because we know that acid is having negative charge, whereas the base are having the positive charge. The acidic amino acid, the examples are, we know it's the aspartate and the glutamate. That is the acidic amino acid. The basic amino acid, we have written that the mnemonic was his last urge. So histidine, lysine, arginine, they are the basic amino acid. So charged polar, if they say, it is going to be acid and base. If they say uncharged but polar, then the examples are going to be, if they say uncharged but polar, the examples are going to be the amide group containing amino acid, and they are the asparagine and the glutamine. If they say then the second category we can say is the alcohol containing amino acid. They are also polar amino acid, alcohol containing amino acid. The examples are serine and threonine. If you scroll up the notes and you see the 4th subcategory that we have discussed in the classification of amino acid, I told you that alcohol containing we have 3: serine, threonine and tyrosine. We have written tyrosine in a separate line. The reason for that is because despite tyrosine contain hydroxyl group, it is not water soluble. That is why we have written that in a separate line. So these are the polar amino acid. When it comes to charged category, acid base. When it comes to uncharged categories, the amide and alcohol containing. Apart from these 4 categories, there are 2 more amino acid which are water soluble. Their entire category is not water soluble, but they individually they are water soluble. So they will come under the category of uncharged polar. Apart from these, we have 2 more amino acid which are water soluble, and that is glycine and cysteine. Glycine is a simple amino acid, and the cysteine is a sulfur containing amino acid. Their entire category is not water soluble, but these 2 are water soluble. So this is the complete classification of the hydrophilic amino acid. If they say what are the 4 categories: acid, base, amide and alcohol. Apart from these 4, which are 2 individual amino acid which are water soluble, glycine and cysteine. Remaining all are hydrophobic. So when it comes to hydrophobic, I can say remaining all are hydrophobic. So this is the classification of amino acid based on water solubility, whether they are water soluble or not. Now here are some controversial questions. So how to answer them? There is some controversial part that is there in this hydrophobic water solubility. So I will try to give you a best idea that what is the best possible choice that you can select in a multiple choice question. If we see that which is the most water soluble, if we see the most hydrophilic amino acid, the most hydrophilic amino acid that we have is arginine. Arginine, that is a basic amino acid, is the most hydrophilic. In the hydrophilic category, there are some other examples, we have discussed them, right? So when you reach to the bottom, the least water soluble among the water soluble category, means having the least characteristic of having water solubility among the water soluble is glycine. So these are the hydrophilic amino acid that we have. When it comes to the hydrophobic, the least hydrophobic among the hydrophobic category is tyrosine. Then there are several examples, and then we'll reach all the way bottom, that is isoleucine, which is the most hydrophobic. Most hydrophobic is isoleucine. So this is the order. This is the order that arginine is the most water soluble, the least water soluble is isoleucine, and somewhere in between we are going to have the glycine and tyrosine on the borderline where they are going to meet, right? So glycine is the least water soluble in the water soluble category. If you take all the water soluble, which is having least water solubility among that four is going to be glycine. And if you see that among all the hydrophobic, which is having the maximum potential to be a water hydrophilic amino acid, the answer will be tyrosine. That this tyrosine can go to the upper category also. So this is the gray area. So when the question will be asked from this particular part, then you have to select the answer based on the given option. Say for example, if I ask you that all of the following are water soluble except, if the question language is like that, all of the following are water soluble except, and the three options are arginine, glycine, tyrosine, and let's say someone is from here, or maybe isoleucine, right? So which one you are going to choose? You are going to choose this one. Right? If they have given three options, from like that, see here, the first option is arginine, then one option is from here, let's say serine, the third option is glycine, and the fourth option is tyrosine. If these are the four options and they're asking that which is water insoluble, then the answer is very straightforward, is going to be tyrosine, right? So depending on option, you have to choose from this particular gray area. So this is one controversial part, and this is how you have to find the answer in that controversial part. This is the second classification, that is based on the water solubility. The third type of classification that we are going to discuss is based on the metabolism. Of amino acid. When you do the metabolism, what you are going to notice that when you metabolize these various 22 types of amino acid, you are going to notice that we can get several types of metabolite, and one of them is ketone body. If you generate ketone body from the amino acid metabolism, such amino acid are called as ketogenic amino acid. They are called as ketogenic amino acid. There are some amino acid which can generate glucose on their metabolism. They are referred as glucogenic amino acid. So we have ketogenic amino acid, we have glucogenic amino acid. There are some amino acid which can generate ketone body and glucose both, depending whatever is the demand of the body. If the body requires ketone body, they will generate ketone. If the body requires glucose, they will make glucose. So they are called as keto plus glucogenic. So I can say that there are three subcategories based on the metabolism of amino acid. It can be ketogenic, keto plus gluco, and the glucogenic. Keto plus gluco, and the glucogenic. When it comes to the example of ketogenic amino acid, there are two examples to be remembered. One is leucine Leucine is the most ketogenic amino acid. Among all the ketogenics, the most ketogenic is leucine. Then the second we can add is lysine, which is also predominantly ketogenic. So leucine and lysine, they are ketogenic, but among these two, if you have to select one which is most ketogenic, the answer is leucine. When it comes to keto plus glucogenic, the examples are tryptophan, phenylalanine, tyrosine, and isoleucine. These are the 4 amino acids which are keto plus glucogenic, means they can make ketones as well as glucose depending on the demand. The third category is the glucogenic amino acid. So I can say in the example of glucogenic amino acid is the remaining all the amino acid are glucogenic. Remaining all the 16 amino acid are glucogenic. But if they ask that which is most glucogenic among the remaining ones, which is the most glucogenic, is alanine. Most glucogenic, the answer is alanine. So most ketogenic leucine, most glucogenic is alanine. So this is the second classification, that is the third classification, that is based on the metabolism. That is based on the metabolism of amino acid: ketogenic, keto plus gluco, and the glucogenic. The fourth classification of amino acid, that is based on the nutritional requirement. Classification based on nutritional requirement. Classification of amino acid based on nutritional requirement. The subcategory, you may have heard about them earlier also. Based on nutritional requirement, the amino acid are classified into 3 categories. The essential, semi-essential, and the non-essential. Essential, semi-essential, and non-essential. These are the amino acid categories based on the nutritional requirement. What is the meaning of essential? Essential means that these are the amino acids you have to take them in your diet. The body cannot synthesize them endogenously. They are called as essential. Non-essential means whether you eat in your diet or not, the body is going to synthesize them endogenously. They are non-essential. Whether you take them in your diet or not, the body will take care of that. That are non-essential. Now, the semi-essential amino acid are those amino acids which are required during the time of growth. Means when we were in the pediatric age group, during the time of growth, these amino acids are required. They are come under the category of semi-essential. So there are 3 categories: essential, semi-essential, and non-essential. So let's see the examples of essential amino acid. When it comes to the essential amino acid, first we need to remember that there are 9 amino acids which are essential. We have 9 essential amino acids. Out of 22, we have 9 are essential. When it comes to the mnemonic for which are the essential amino acid we have, the mnemonic that we are going to use is TV till 9 p.m. H. TV till 9 p.m. H. TV till 9 p.m. H is the example for the 9 essential amino acid. For example, if I say isoleucine, is it essential or not? You will see the initial isoleucine is I, and you will search whether the I is there in the mnemonic or not. Yes, I is there. So you will say it is essential. In the same way, what they do is they will try to confuse you between 3 options. Say, if I see the amino acid, the set of 22 amino acid, what I am going to notice that there are 3 amino acid that starts with the letter T. If I ask you that which amino acid starts with the letter T, you will say tryptophan. Yes, rightly is threonine and the tyrosine. These are the 3 amino acid that starts with the letter T. Now, if they ask that which are the essential amino acid, and these are the option. So you will use the mnemonic TV till 9 p.m. H. If you see the mnemonic, how many T's are there? There is 1 T, TV till, so again one more T. So there are 2 T. But how many amino acids starts with the letter T? Tryptophan, threonine and the tyrosine. So this tyrosine starts with the letter T. It is non-essential. It is non-essential. So we need to remember, see, the examiner knows that you are going to use the mnemonic TV till 9 p.m. So they will try to confuse you between tryptophan, threonine and the tyrosine. So we should know that tyrosine is a non-essential amino acid. If you are using this mnemonic, the thing that has always have to be kept in mind is that the tyrosine is non-essential. So I am writing this statement here is tyrosine is non-essential. If you remember these three things, 9 essential we have, TV till 9 p.m. tyrosine is non-essential. All the MCQs are going to be correct when it comes to the category of essential amino acid, right? If you want to write all the 9 names, what are the TV till 9 p.m. what are the 9 names are, you can see in the list here. These are the 9 essential amino acid we have. These are the 9 essential amino acid. So you can see is the tryptophan, valine, threonine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, phenylalanine, methionine and histidine. Tyrosine is non-essential. Tyrosine is non-essential, right? So in some books you might find histidine is not written in essential. In some books it might be written in semi-essential category. So that is again we can say a controversial part. I will tell you how to solve such MCQ also, right? So the essential category, initially we will have this concept that we will retain the histidine in the essential category only, and the mnemonic is going to be TV till 9 p.m. tyrosine non-essential. Histidine is a controversial part. Some books says it may consider as semi-essential, right? When we see the negative nitrogen balance, then we find that histidine is not the semi-essential, it is the essential amino acid. But still in some books it is written as semi-essential, so we will always have to keep that thought in our mind while solving the MCQ. So these are the essential amino acid that we have. Now coming to the semi-essential category, in the semi-essential category, the only example that we have to remember in mind is arginine. The only example is arginine that we have to keep in mind. The third category is non-essential. The examples are remaining all 12 amino acid are going to be non-essential. So we have the essential, semi-essential, non-essential. We have the essential, semi-essential, non-essential. There is a controversial part regarding the histidine. Histidine in some books it is essential, in some books it is semi-essential. So when you are solving the MCQ and they are asking that which of the following is semi-essential, let's say which of the following is semi-essential, and in that question arginine is not given in the choice. Instead of arginine, histidine is going in the choice, then you will select histidine as semi-essential, right? So it all depends on the options that are given to you. Depending on that, we have to find the best option. So as I told you as an example that if they say which of the following is semi-essential, arginine is not in the option, then the second best answer is histidine, right? This is the fourth classification that is based on the nutritional requirement. The next thing is there are this is the fourth category of classification that is completed. Then there is a special property of amino acid that some amino acid have a specific odor or a specific smell, right? These are called as aromatic amino acid. So this is a ectopic variety, we can say is the aromatic amino acid. Means they have a peculiar odor or a peculiar smell. They are called as aromatic amino acid. So what is important is to remember is the example. What are the example of aromatic amino acid we have? So to remember the aromatic amino acid, I will just tell you a simple mnemonic how to remember the aromatic amino acid. For example, let's say right now we are having this class in a closed environment. Let's say all the doors, all the windows are closed. Now what I do is, I bring a rubber tire in this classroom and I burn the tire. Now what is going to happen is after some time everywhere there will be smoke of this burnt tire. Everywhere there will be smell of this burnt tire. To get rid of the smell, what you need to do is you need to turn on the fan. So that you will turn on the exhaust fans so that the smoke will go out. The smell will go out. So the point is that wherever we have smell, what you have to do? You have to turn on the fan. Wherever there is smell, you will have the fan. Wherever there is smell, you have the fan. So the aromatic amino acid are those amino acid which contains fan in their name. amino acid which contains fan in their name. This is just a way to remember. So the aromatic amino acid are those which contain fan in the name. The examples are tryptophan. The example is tryptophan. You can see fan in the name. One more example I can add. Phenylalanine. Again fan in the name. So whenever it's fan in the name, it's aromatic. What was the smell? What you have burnt in the classroom? That was tyre. So tyrosine is also aromatic amino acid. So tyrosine is aromatic amino acid. Apart from these, the fourth one is histidine. Histidine, that is also aromatic. So the first three you can easily remember by the mnemonic. Fan in the name. What is the smell? Is tyre. Tryptophan, phenylalanine, tyrosine. The fourth one is histidine. These are the aromatic amino acid we have. So this is a ectopic variety of amino acid. There is one more ectopic variety of amino acid, and that is referred as derived amino acid. Derived amino acid. Let's understand what is the meaning of derived amino acid. So to understand the definition of derived amino acid, I will just use a simple concept that, see, the most of the amino acid, say for example, methionine. Methionine is amino acid. It is represented by a codon. Every amino acid will be represented by a codon. The codon for methionine is AUG. We will discuss that in detail when we will discuss genetic code. Right? But for now, every amino acid is represented by a codon, and for methionine the codon is AUG. But there are some amino acid which cannot be represented by a codon. If amino acid cannot be represented by a codon, that is called as derived amino acid. That comes under the category of derived amino acid. So what is derived amino acid? Amino acid which cannot be represented by codon. That is referred as the derived amino acid. Usually the amino acid is represented by a codon, but if amino acid cannot be represented by a codon, it's called as derived amino acid. So what is important is the example. The example of derived amino acid, the first example is hydroxyproline. This is found in collagen. Protein. Collagen is a protein. The hydroxyproline is found in collagen. Then is the hydroxylysine. That is also derived amino acid found in collagen. Then the next example is desmosine. It is found in elastine. Then the fourth example is cysteine. The cysteine molecule should not be confused with cysteine. Cysteine we have discussed earlier. What is cysteine is? Cysteine is a sulfur containing amino acid. So what is cysteine and what is cysteine? What is the difference between them? So what I do is, we know that cysteine is a sulfur containing amino acid. What I do is, I take two molecules of cysteine. Let's say this is the first molecule and this is the second molecule of cysteine. I take two molecules of cysteine. I join these two cysteine molecule by these two sulfur molecules. So this is the bond that I am going to have is the disulfide bond. So if you take two cysteine molecules joined via the disulfide bond, this entire unit that you have got is going to be referred as cysteine. This entire unit that you got is referred as cysteine, right? So what they ask is, this cysteine is found where? Cysteine is found in those molecules which contains disulfide bond. Wherever we require disulfide bond, we will place cysteine molecules, because we know that cysteine is having disulfide bond. So the example where it is found, cysteine is found in insulin. Insulin protein contains a disulfide bond, so that we require cysteine. One more example that I can add is immunoglobulin, that is antibodies. That also requires cysteine molecule. Insulin and immunoglobulin, they require the cysteine molecule. The other examples of the derived amino acid, so we have discussed 4 examples of derived amino acid: hydroxyproline, hydroxylysine, desmosine and cysteine. Few more examples that I can add is ornithine, citrulline, these are the other examples of the derived category, right? So there are many others also, but at least you should remember these 6. These are the 6 amino acid which are the derived amino acid. So this is the complete classification of amino acid. This is complete classification. We have divided the amino acid mainly in 4 subcategories based on R group, then based on the water solubility, then we have discussed about the based on their metabolism, keto, gluco, keto plus glucogenic, then we have discussed about the nutritional requirement, essential, semi-essential, non-essential. Then there are 2 special properties, one is the derived amino acid and the aromatic amino acid. One point I forgot to mention about the aromatic amino acid, that you can write in the aromatic amino acid. If I just scroll up the thing, the notes, we have written that in the aromatic amino acid there are 4 examples: tryptophan, phenylalanine, tyrosine and histidine. You can write, there is one more point that you can write is, aromatic amino acid has a tendency to absorb the UV rays. They have a tendency to absorb the UV rays. When you place these amino acid in the sunlight contains UV rays, so these amino acid will absorb the UV rays. Among these 4, the tryptophan is having the maximum absorption of the UV rays. So you can write this point here that all the aromatic amino acid have a tendency to absorb UV rays. Maximum UV absorption is seen with tryptophan. This was asked in the exam earlier, that which amino acid has the maximum tendency to absorb the UV rays. The answer is going to be tryptophan, right? So all the aromatic have a tendency to absorb the UV rays. The maximum is with the tryptophan. So this is the complete classification of the amino acid. Because as I saying that earlier we have only 20 types of amino acid. Now we have added the 21st and the 22nd amino acid. So we should know few details regarding them. One is the 21st amino acid. The 21st amino acid, the name of the 21st amino acid is selenocysteine. If they ask that what is the codon, we do not have to remember all the codons. We have to remember only 3 codons. One I have already told to you, methionine, that is the AUG. The codon for selenocysteine is UGA. If they ask that what is the precursor amino acid, means selenocysteine is synthesized from which amino acid? What is the precursor? The precursor is serine. Serine will convert ultimately into selenocysteine. So the precursor amino acid is serine. When it comes to the 22nd amino acid, the example of 22nd amino acid is, the name of the 22nd amino acid is pyrrolysine. The codon for pyrrolysine is UAG. There is no as such precursor for pyrrolysine. So these are the details to be remembered for 21st and 22nd amino acid. 21st is selenocysteine, 22nd is pyrrolysine. So once we have completed this entire classification, is a very important topic. That is going to be one question for 100% from this discussion of the classification of amino acid.